Hi everyone, I'm Alexander Zeitlin, and this is the Lockdown Lecture Series for Beginning Violin, adapted from the Alias Music Introductions course for the classroom setting. Let's jump into Lesson 5. So last time we introduced the bow and the scale, and kind of let you guys loose on all of the nursery rhymes, gave all the fingerings, and talked about how the next assignment is going to be to get through all of them. So rather than teaching new material in terms of new songs or new techniques, we're going to talk about how sound production works on the violin and give you guys a couple goals to put all these songs together. So let's hop over and kind of talk about what makes sound work and sort of string behavior on a violin. So as you're working through your song, you may notice you have what I like to call sound errors. You know, sounds that you shouldn't be making. They might sound something like a crunch, a hiss, a whistle. And so we're going to talk about what makes each of those. So essentially there are 4 things that control the variations to the sound on the violin, really on any string instrument. So one is bow pressure, bow speed, contact point, and to some extent bow tilting. So let's talk about kind of what each one of these controls and what kind of sound errors you can have from each of them. So bow pressure is controlled essentially like how much the bow is pressing into the string. So I'm going to try to keep all the other elements the same and just give you one note, and I will increase the pressure. And eventually it cracked, it sort of crunched. And that's because I have too much pressure for the amount of bow speed that I have. And if I go lighter and lighter, it starts to whistle at me. So bow pressure controls essentially the volume of our sound, or if we call it the volume. And if we don't balance that well, we might get a crunch or a whistle. So we have to watch out for those when we're dealing with bow pressure. Now, bow speed controls the projection of our sound. So if I have the same weight, but I increase my bow speed, the sound will immediately kind of like fill out and project through the room. And essentially, if I use too little bow, don't have enough bow speed, my sound becomes choked. So it kind of just sounds like you're trying to speak, but someone's kind of like not letting the sound come out. And on the other hand, if it's too much bow speed, you actually get a little bit of what you had with too little bow pressure, and you get a little bit of a whistle as the bow glides over the string. So your bow speed controls the projection of the sound. More bow, the more it projects. Less bow, the more it sort of becomes more internalized sound. And that controls the errors you can have are choked sound, or you could also have whistly sound. Now, contact point is where your bow is in between the bridge and the fingerboard. Okay, so normally, just kind of for beginners, you want your bow to be kind of right in the middle, probably right there, between your bridge and your fingerboard. You don't want it to be over the fingerboard, and you don't want it to be too close to the bridge, because If you are too close to the bridge, it becomes hissy sound. And if you're over the fingerboard, it sounds weak, kind of like as if I've put too much air in my sound. And that's because the contact point controls the intensity of your sound. Moving it more towards the bridge gives it more and more and more intensity, which requires more control. In a way, it gives you less intensity, but then eventually just becomes weak. So it controls intensity, and your sound errors could be hissing or weak sound. Lastly, you have bow tilting. Now, for beginners, this doesn't really affect much. Your bow should be always slightly tilted away from you. So this way. So I want my bow to tilt that way away from me so that I'm not flat with my bow hair on the string, but just tilted, not totally on the edge, but a little bit. If the wood of your bow is touching the string, it's too much. Let me change view here so you guys can see a little better. So flat, probably not good. Tilted away from you a little bit, good. Tilt it all the way away from you so that the wood is on the string, not good. So that essentially controls how much hair is on the string. And when I have more advanced techniques like the bow bouncing, how much hair is touching the string impacts how much is grabbing the string. Now, advanced violinists will use all of these things to essentially manipulate their sound. I have more or less pressure, more or less bow speed, more, or intensity of a contact point to give you a broader range of color and detail in your sound. Right? But as beginners, we just try to not make sound errors. So now you know when you hear a certain sound, what are you most likely to have problems with? And most likely it's going to be crunching or maybe some whistling. You guys are going to get that hissing sound from the bow being too close to the bridge. But the reason I explain all this to you guys is so that you get to work on using your ear to solve them. So as you start playing, especially your scale, this is the best time to work on it, or your whole bow exercises, and you start hearing a whistle, you know that, oh, I'm probably moving my bow too fast or it's too light. My hand needs to kind of sit into the string a little bit more. Or, my sound is choking, so I need to get my bow moving. I hear the hissing, so I probably need to get my bow away from the bridge. It's probably too close to the bridge. So that's your homework this week, is to work on all these things, and you look at your violin when you need to see, you can't figure out why this is happening, figure it out, and then usually within like a few days of practice, you realize, oh, I have a tendency to play too close to the bridge, or I have a tendency to be too heavy-handed or too light-handed, or I don't use enough bow. So that's the assignment, and the other assignment is to then really work and clean up your all of your songs. So what I'm going to do for the rest of this lesson is I'm just going to play through all of them for you. And you guys, when you feel like you're ready, you can come back to this video and play along with me. So when you play through it, I will give you a little pause to just kind of reset your bow hand. And then we're going to go through all 4 songs without stopping, because that's our next goal. If you can do that, you are ready for the Bach Minuet, which comes up next. All right, so here we go. Here is our first attempt at the run through everything all together. So set up your instrument, set up your bow hand, make sure your left hand is in the right place. Your hands are next to the stickers fingers are next to the stickers they need to be on. And let's go through all the songs with a small pause, but don't put down your instrument between each one. Here we go. Don't put your instrument down. I'm just adjusting my volume settings. Get ready for your next song. Make sure your hands look good, and here we go. Pause right here, reset your hand if you need to, and here we go. Last song, get your hands ready, keep that whole bow going, nice sound. That's all 4 songs. Hopefully your level of tiredness of your hands is not like a 10 right now. If it is, maybe keep working, and next lesson we will jump into the Bach minuet. All right, so everyone, your homework is to start putting all the songs together, practicing them all one after the other. Work on your sound errors. Don't look at your bow. If you can, start to pay attention to what the sound is that is creating the sound error. All right, see you guys later for lesson 6.